How about that cigar?
How about that cigar?
Well, what night is it, Garrett?
It's our favorite night.
What night is that?
That's Tuesday night.
It's Tuesday night. It's our favorite night of the week. Guys, welcome to episode number 51 of How About That Cigar Live. As always, we are here at Sodi's in the Drew Estate Traveling Cigar Studios, and Drew Estate wants to tell you that the Pappy Van Winkle tradition will now be sold exclusively through pappyco.com. Drew Estate is honored to represent the Van Winkle family with an ultra-premium cigar that reinforces the legacy of an American icon, Julian Van Winkle. The Pappy Van Winkle tradition features an Ecuadorian Habano Oscuro wrapper, Indonesian binder, and aged fillers from Nicaragua and the Dominican Republic. Jonathan Drew, founder and president of Drew Estate, says, "We are thrilled to be providing the daughters of Julian Van Winkle, owners of pappyco.com, with an exclusive cigar that is deeply aligned with the core value of their culture and tradition, and that matches the legacy of their brand. The Pappy Van Winkle tradition is available in a 5.5 by 54 and 6 by 50 Toro. Find them now exclusively at pappyco.com. Well, Garrett, we're back as always on Tuesday night. It is episode number 51. And, we talk about sports. We talk about this and that. There's not much of that going on. Everybody's kind of been a little bit on lockdown. How's your lockdown been?
Actually, hang on.
Oh, are we having...
We are.
Okay. Oh, all right. Hold on a sec. No, it says we're live. It says we're live. Hey, guys, if you can hear us and see us, let us know. It says we're live. That's what Facebook says. That's what the StreamYard says. Please hold for technical difficulties. I'm seeing some people check in.
Yep. Okay. We are live.
Well, thank you for that.
Sorry.
Thanks, everybody. Yeah, we're live. It's all good. And the way things have been going, in the world we live in right now, with there's a lot of bandwidth being used, and that's just kind of the way things are right now. There's a lot of people home. There's a lot of people using bandwidth that doesn't typically get used. So, things are what they are, and we're going to power through it. It's no big deal. We're really excited to have you guys watching and listening. If you're listening on the audio podcast after the fact, thanks so much for spending some time while you're driving in your car or working out or whatever it is you do when you listen to audio podcasts. Garrett, how's your lockdown been?
Well, I've got a spouse and 3 children, and I am grateful to be here.
Yeah. That's
about it.
Sometimes you just got to take the little things and be grateful for them and move on.
Yeah. And no, it's actually been all right. The kids have been behaving, which is a huge win in my household.
That's a win. I'll take it.
And we all kind of have nested in our little places, and
it's kind of the same way for us. We, I work from home occasionally now. For the last couple of weeks, I work from home all the time. But now the kids are getting used to doing school from home, which is really new for them. So they're getting used to figuring out how to do that. I've been helping them along the way. And I'm really fortunate that my wife is a teacher. So she knows all the ins and outs of, how some of these online systems work for their schooling. And she also is really good at keeping the kids on task, which I'm maybe not so good at.
Right.
So
no, I hear you.
I struggle keeping on task myself, let alone trying to keep 3 kids on task. So, but it's been good. We just have to, those of us in the cigar culture, those of us who love to sit down together and enjoy cigars and enjoy conversation, that everything that goes along with the cigar culture. We talked about this last week. We want to talk about it again. We're here in the Twin Cities area, Minnesota. And wherever you are in the country, in the world, wherever you are, hopefully the cigar shops that are in your area are still available for phone orders and curbside pickup. If they are, call your brick and mortar shops, and the cigars that you love to smoke, call them and say, I want 5 of these, or I want a box of these, or I want, just put me together a random sampler for X amount of dollars, pay for it with your credit card over the phone, and go pick them up. Please, during this time, please continue to support your local brick and mortar cigar shops, because
do you have Cubans?
Ask them if they have Cubans, because they love to hear that question. especially in the States. They love that. So yeah, just keep supporting your brick and mortar shops.
Please.
Yeah.
Yep.
And if you happen to live in an area where, and some people live in a really, outside area where there are no brick and mortar shops within any decent driving distance, then support your favorite online retailer. And if it's an online retailer that happens to also be attached to a brick and mortar shop, all the better. But we want to bring in our special guest this evening. And as always, our special guest is brought to you by Corona Cigar Company and coronacigar.com. They are the internet's largest and easiest to use virtual cigar store. Corona Cigar Company offers you the finest handmade cigars, humidors, and cigar accessories at the absolute lowest possible price. At coronacigarcompany.com, they take pride in being cigar fanatics just like you and me. That is why you will find the best selection of the rarest and finest premium cigars available in the world. You will also find unique and limited cigars containing Florida sun-grown tobacco. For more info on all of that, please visit coronacigar.com and floridasungrown.com. Guys, we are really excited this evening. This is a brand that I've been a fan of for quite a while, it's a really interesting brand from every aspect, from the blends to the design and everything in between. So we want to bring to you from Black Label Trading Company, Mr. James Brown. James, welcome to How About That Cigar Live. How you doing?
Thanks, guys. I'm good. Happy to be here.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
So you're in Nicaragua. You live there full time. How are things in Nicaragua right now?
Things are pretty good. I mean, for the most part, pretty much, life as usual. Things are kind of just going as normal. So, we're doing our thing and keeping it moving.
That's good. And your factory, your cigar factory, Oveja Negra, you said, or before we went live, you said that you are still operational. Is that correct?
At this point, we are, yeah.
Okay, good. I'm glad to hear that. So we talk to a lot of people on the show, James, and we love learning from the people who are in this business, people who are in this culture, because everybody's got unique stories, as far as the people. There are a lot of people who were born and raised in tobacco, and then a lot of people who came into it, later in life and developed a passion, when they were had already been working in other businesses. So give us an idea, sort of the version of your origin story as far as where the kind of business that you were in before cigars, and what sort of lit that fire to bring you from where you were into the premium cigar business.
Yeah, so I'll give you kind of the short version of a long story. I started out in the wine industry. I was a sommelier for a lot of years. That's kind of when I started becoming interested in cigars, more of a cigar enthusiast. I worked at a restaurant where the owner of the restaurant owned a chain of cigar stores, and that kind of got me really excited about cigars and what they could be, and really interested in it. And so fast forward quite a number of years, my wife and I were living in Guatemala at the time. We owned a adventure travel company that specialized doing trips all over Central America. And so as a cigar smoker, I really wanted to start including Esteli and the factories there as part of our tour. And so over the years, I got to know a lot of people there, got to really become interested in the manufacturing side. In my free time, I was just kind of hanging out in Esteli and learning as much as I could about tobacco, about cigar blending, and really that whole process of on the manufacturing side. And, over time, I decided to kind of try my hand at blending cigars and started making cigars for our travel company, for our customers to smoke on the trips. And people just kind of fell in love with the product and wanted to know how they could buy more when the trip was over. And that sparked the idea to, possibly start a brand and do it as kind of a more serious undertaking. And so, this was over the span of about 4 years. And so decided to launch Black Label, and, the rest is history.
And what were you smoking at that time? What was your jam?
I really didn't have anything specifically because I was not living in the U.S. at the time. I haven't been living in the U.S. for almost the last 18 years. So I kind of was just smoking what I could when I could. And most of what I was smoking at that time was a lot of stuff from, the factories and things like that, like fresh rolled, things like that. And I started playing around with blends on my own. And for a long time, I was really just trying to train my palate on individual tobaccos. And, for about almost 2 years, I was really just smoking burritos of, Jalapa Seco for 2 weeks just to really train my palate. I kind of took what I learned as a sommelier and applied it to tobacco, which is really profile.
Okay, getting a little bit of audio breakup from you, James.
Yeah, sorry. It's just the nature of the internet. We're getting a little bit of a breakup there.
When we hear that, we're just gonna kind of fill in with what we can fill in with, and we'll try and hit it again.
Okay.
So, 18 years in Central South America, and from wine to cigars. Is wine still, a love?
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm still very passionate about wine. I'm actually very happy to be more on the consumer side of it than I was on the industry side at this point. So now I get to just kind of sit back and enjoy it.
Awesome.
Now, when you spent time and this is curiosity, when you spent time as a sommelier, were you on the restaurant side or the winery side?
I was on the restaurant side and then also on the retail side for a lot of years.
Okay. Because I've been learning a little bit about that. I've gotten to know somebody who's spent some time doing that, and I never really realized how many facets there were to sommeliers. There are so many different ways to be a sommelier that I honestly never knew, and it really kind of blew me away when I learned that. So, give us the idea behind when you first, like you said, you started, we had the adventure travel company, and you were already a fan and a lover of premium cigars, but then you started working on some of your own blends to have as part of the tour and things like that. But when did, what kind of a relationship did you have prior to starting your own factory? How did you get those blends made, and where did you develop those sort of factory relationships? And then how did that then springboard into opening Oveja Negra?
So yeah, through the tours we were doing, I got to meet a lot of people on the manufacturing side. And a factory that we visited, a guy named Armando Leyva, who's now our production manager at Oveja Negra. He and I just kind of really hit it off. In my downtime, I just kind of spent my time shadowing him, learning as much as I could from him. And he was the one that got me, really interested in being able to make my own cigar. And so I just learned everything that I could from him and then started to go from there. But everything was done through that factory, which is no longer around anymore. And, it's kind of the approach that we took was the opposite of most companies that are on the market today. We started kind of from the opposite end. In the United States, involved with cigars, no reps, nobody really in any cigar groups or anything like that. So it really started on the Nicaraguan side.
Cool.
And then when Oveja Negra started as a factory, what kind of scale are we talking about? Because I've been to, and I know a lot of people who are really into cigars, and people who watch shows and listen to podcasts like this, they've been able to go to Nicaragua or Dominican Republic and take some cigar factory tours and maybe see cigar factories of small scale and really massive scale cigar factories. When you first opened your own doors and hired your own rollers and things like that, what kind of scale are we talking about when you got going?
In 2015, when we opened Oveja, it was very small scale. So we were in a much smaller space than we are now. It was a converted house, basically. We started with 4 teams. For a little while, when we first started, we had 2 teams and then went up to 4. Very small aging room. Everything was just kind of a micro scale, so to speak.
Yeah. And then when you're in a new larger factory now, is that a facility that you built, or was that just a existing building that you refitted?
It was a building that was there. It had been a box factory for a long time, and then it was pretty much abandoned for about the last 20 years. So we had to come in and completely do a build out. It was just basically walls, a ceiling. There was no floor. There were no, facilities at all. So we did the build out on it.
Okay. And what was when things first got going, what would you say is the first blend or the first brand or facing that came out that carried the Black Label Trading Company name?
Well, we kind of went at things a little bit differently, because like I said, we had no real experience and no input from anybody in the industry. So we just did things the way we wanted to do them. And I think that was a really good thing for us. So when we launched Black Label, we actually launched with 6 lines. Most people start with 1 or 2 lines, a couple different sizes. But for us, it was really important to build a brand, not just a cigar. So we really wanted to come out with a full offering. We wanted it to be a good representation of what we can do, and have things in that portfolio, in that lineup, that are going to be pretty much something for everybody. And so we went out with 6 lines that are now our core line.
And of those core lines, this is something that I've asked a few people, and I've always been curious, kind of with each person. If you had to, put yourself in one of these, desert island kind of scenarios for you personally as a cigar lover, if you had to choose one of your core lines that just was going to be your desert island cigar, that you had to be, that's the one you're going to be left with, what is the one that just of your blends that really just speaks to you?
Last Rites, absolutely.
Last Rites, okay.
No question.
And what is it specifically about that blend that really gets you?
Well, Last Rites kind of has a really special place for me because it was the first cigar that I blended on my own, and it's also the cigar that I blended for, my personal wheelhouse, my personal palate of what I wanted, out of a Nicaraguan cigar. So that's a very special cigar to me. So it is that cigar that not only was it the first cigar, but it's definitely the one that is kind of perfectly in what I like to smoke.
Okay. And Garrett and I fired up some cigars here. Garrett, which one did you fire up?
I got the Salvation.
The Salvation. And so give us an idea about the blend profile for the Salvation, and for those watching and listening that may be new to your brand, what can they expect from profile from the Salvation?
Yeah, I mean, for us, for the cigars that we make, I would say the Salvation is going to be probably pretty straight up medium for most people. What I like about the Salvation is that it has a really nice level of complexity with kind of layers of spice that come and go throughout the smoking experience. And it's a Ecuadorian sun-grown wrapper. So it's a really beautiful cigar. It also has, some nice creaminess on the finish. And so like we try to do with all of our cigars, I think it's a very well-balanced, medium-bodied cigar, but definitely has a lot of complexity to it.
100%. That's exactly what I'm getting.
There you go. And I fired up the Syndustry, which is one of the Blackworks Studio. So give, for the Blackworks Studio side of things, those cigars are, they're sort of on their own, but they're also part of the family as a whole. And where did the inspiration come from for the Blackworks Studio side of things?
Is, the way that I describe it is Black Label it came out late 2012, early 2013. The idea with Black Label, like I said before, was to have kind of something for everybody. We wanted a really good mix in the core line to kind of hit a lot of different flavor profiles, a lot of different, people's palates and what they like to smoke. We chose Vitolas that we thought were going to be, very popular, sort of mainstream Vitolas. And then, fast forward to 2015 when we opened Oveja in the factory, we wanted to, we treat the factory very much like a studio. It's a creative space where we're constantly trying new things and developing new things. And so Blackworks Studio kind of grew out of that. It was, I had a lot of sort of blends on the shelf that didn't really fit the Black Label mold. And so we decided to launch a brand that was going to, highlight the artisanal qualities of cigar making from the factory. And we wanted them to be cigars that are, more geared towards cigar enthusiasts, cigar nerds. And so they're all, going to be in smaller vitolas, smaller ring gauges, very limited amount of vitolas. And they're all made in, small batch, 100 box batches at a time. And then we also have, kind of the more complex things like the Killer Hornet, things like that kind of, take a lot of time, but really show what our rollers and what our teams can do when it comes to making cigars.
And tell us a little bit about the artwork and the nomenclature that you're using in some of these different brands and the process and what that looks like for you guys.
Yeah. So, I mean, the art, it goes in two different directions. I do all the artwork for all the brands, all the lines. And, at the end of the day, the brands are a reflection of me, and they kind of, I wanted brands that kind of speak to who I am. And, I think it's very important for each cigar to have its own identity and to kind of tell a story. And, some cigars, the blend comes around first, and then we smoke it for a while and then figure out, what the artwork's going to be, what we're going to call it. And then sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes we have an idea for some, really cool artwork and a name, and we kind of build the cigar around that. Okay, Boondock was a good example of that. I knew I wanted to do a Boondock cigar, and then it was just kind of building, okay, what is that cigar? What's it going to be? What should it be? Should it taste like? So, the process just kind of goes either way. But yeah, it's, all the art, all the cigars, the brands, everything is just kind of a representation of myself.
And
awesome.
So some of the, like you were talking about Boondock, and then there's Bishop's Blend. Some of those more limited release, that come out in small batches once a year, and some maybe not once a year, but they're more definitely limited, and people really seek after those. What are hold on a second. Looks like I'm getting another little blip on the radar here saying that we're having a broadcast issue. Hold on here.
Can you still hear us, James?
Yeah, I hear you fine.
Okay.
Yeah, the stream provider's saying there's a issue streaming to Facebook. If you guys are on Facebook and you see us and hear us, give me a shout, because I'm seeing a little blip here. Hold on one second. Okay, hold on here. Internet is...
No, we're good. So we're streaming to our YouTube stream is good. It's our Facebook stream.
Okay. Okay. Well, we're going to power through here. It looks like... Yeah, we're going to power through here. If you guys... It's definitely still going on the YouTube side. If people are watching on Facebook, we appreciate you staying with us here. It's looks like it's a Facebook issue, not a overall internet issue. So just hang with us, and we'll keep going through this.
Otherwise, jump over to YouTube.
Yeah, jump over to the How About That Cigar channel on YouTube, and you'll see it there. So yeah, thanks. We'll keep going here. So James, this is specifically, like I said, about the limiteds. You know, whether it's the Bishop's Blend, the Boondock, and a few others. You find inspiration in so many different places in art, whether it's music or design, cigars, whatever it could be. You find inspiration from different places. Where do you kind of draw your inspiration from, and what makes you decide that, okay, this inspiration is actually worth pursuing and worth building a project around?
I draw inspiration from everything. My childhood, movies, music, pop culture, art, pretty much from anywhere. And it just kind of depends. I mean, we've obviously got a whole ton of ideas that have never seen the light of day, at least yet. But it's just kind of, we just find the right thing that works for that particular cigar. Like I said, I feel like it gives the cigar an identity. It kind of tells a story. And, I think that, you never know where it comes from. With the Bishop's Blend, for example, we started playing around with vitolas. I knew I wanted to do kind of a conical point on the end of the cigar, just for something different, and as we were working on it, one of the Roleras said, "Oh, it looks like the Pope's hat."
Oh, okay.
And so, the name kind of grew out of that, so you just never know where an idea or inspiration is going to come from.
No, that's cool. I like that because, sometimes, like you said, it's just a comment that comes from, somebody in the factory that says, and next thing you know, and that blend that's one of those blends that comes out every year, and people they kind of go apeshit over it, which is fantastic. And people pursue it as soon as it hits the market. People are like, okay, I gotta find this. And they sell out pretty quickly from the vendors who carry it. And, how do you always pursue it based on, because obviously you could sell way more of those than you make, but you have a limit, there's only so much tobacco to go around that actually fits that blend and makes the blend correct. So, do you pursue things that way from the standpoint of the product versus, the market demand?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, for us, the reality is, it's all about tobacco, and with the tobacco that we use, there is, not an infinite supply. So our limited production numbers are solely based on how many cigars we can actually produce with the types of tobaccos that we're working with, and for Bishop, for example, we've been fortunate the last few years. It's been right around the, 400 to 500 box per vitola quantity, which is obviously not enough for the market, but it is what it is. And
well, and people, and other brands too that put out limited releases. If people know those things are coming out, then they'll make the effort to go out there and get their hands on it. And one of the things also that specifically with the Blackworks, like you mentioned, the Green Hornet and the Killer Bee. Those blends, not only from the standpoint of flavor and aroma, but also from the look, because they're little hints of different types of tobacco, whether it's lighter shades of tobacco here and there, and those, you get those little bits of those different flavors that come into the blend. I've got to imagine there's so much experimentation that goes into getting the blends right from a flavor and aroma perspective, while also getting the look that you want, that's got to be a really tricky process. What does that look like when you have a, like, because like you said earlier, sometimes the name comes first and the blend comes second, and vice versa, or vice versa. So when you have, those flavor and aroma profiles that you want from a cigar, but you also want it to look a certain way with different color nuances in the wrappers, how much experimentation goes into that before you nail it?
Oh, quite a bit. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I would say even with a basic cigar, that doesn't have all of those cosmetic attributes to it, a lot goes into it. For a cigar that's going to be a general production cigar, I mean, it takes quite a long time in terms of tweaks and things like that, and aging it for a certain amount of time before you try it. And then, if you want to change anything else, you're back to the drawing board and starting that process all over. But the Killer Bee and the Green Hornet especially, I designed that blend to work with the Candela that we use in it. The whole idea is that through the smoking of that cigar, you constantly get a little hint of that Candela, just enough to know that it's there. But it's a really kind of unique balance with the rest of the filler tobaccos that are used. So that cigar was built around the idea of kind of highlighting Candela, but in a very subtle way. Yeah.
And that's one of the things that, and we discussed it briefly on last week's show, that Candela has, it's very, it can be very, just really pronounced and has very, intense, whether it's grassiness or floral or whatever it is. But the Green Hornet, for me, if I had to choose, for instance, between the Green Hornet and the Killer Bee, I enjoy both, but I've always found myself gravitating a little more toward the Green Hornet because I like the balance between, like you said, those little hints of Candela that you get against the spice and that really rich, Maduro note that's there too, from that really rich, heavy tobacco also. And those tasting notes really come out. And I rambling on here, but that's just one of those cigars that from the first time I tried it, I really, really enjoyed the balance of that blend.
Yeah, I mean, it's also the cigar that, similar to your question earlier, if somebody was to ask me to choose a cigar that represents, what we do at our factory, I would definitely hand them a Green Hornet because I think it is really one of the most unique blends out there. Just because the way it is kind of put together and, with the Candela kind of working throughout the blend as you smoke it.
And I know that I don't remember exactly when it started, but I know for a while you guys have been doing factory tours. And tell us about why you decided to start doing factory tours and, what it is that you want the consumers and even retailers who join in on those factory tours, what it is that you're trying to get across to them and help them understand when you do those tours.
Yeah, so we've been doing them now for, I think it's our third year. We do very limited number a year. We do only, between 4 to 6 a year. But the reason we started was, it's hard, even for me to sit here and be on a show like this or through social media or whatever, to really convey to people exactly what it is we do on the factory side and how much we are different than a lot of other cigar manufacturers out there, so the factory is the perfect stage for us to kind of drive that home to retailers and also consumers, because the way our factory operates, the way that it looks, everything about it speaks to the brand. It speaks to Black Label, Blackworks, Dissident, Emilio, the whole Oveja lineup, is just represented in the daily process of what we do there. And for me, it's great to see, especially consumers, get to see the entire process. It kind of changes their view on cigar making, on, tobacco in general, when they see how much goes into it. And, when they come back to the States, I think they just have a much for the process and what goes into making a cigar. And I just like to open people's eyes up to that,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I'd like to switch gears for just a second here and talk about those J's behind you. Now I'm a number 4 guy. What are your pair of kicks?
Soft spots, 1s and 4s are affecting, now I do, but yeah, definitely, when it comes to Jordans, I'm a huge Jordan 1 guy.
Awesome.
When did the obsession start for you?
I was always into shoes as a kid. I mean, I still remember my first pair of Jordan 1s. I remember my first pair of Jordan 4s, Jordan 3s. And it was kind of a few years ago, like in 2018, Nike really kind of stepped up their game as far as bringing back a lot of the original stuff. They'd been kind of doing it off and on over the years, but they had never really brought back the same quality. They'd never really done it to the point where people were that interested in it, and the shoes just weren't great, in my opinion. So really, like 2018 is when things started coming back that were really unique and interesting and much better quality, and so that kind of sparked my interest then to be able to kind of relive my childhood, basically. All those same things that I was into then, I'm still into now. So
yeah. And one other thing that's completely not cigar related, but I've always been curious about, because I know with the adventure travel company back in the day, and I've seen a lot of your posts, and you've talked a lot in the past about the Range Rover Defenders. And being a novice, I don't know the first thing about them. I think they look badass, but I don't know the first thing about them. What is for a guy like me who doesn't know what it's all about? What is the draw to that vehicle? Is it the coolness factor, or is it the fact that they're built like a brick shit house and they'll never break down? What's the draw?
I mean, I think it's a little bit of both. So, for me, like my first car was a 1986 Land Rover Range Rover. And so I've always had a soft spot for it, and I always loved that idea that Land Rover was able to portray that this vehicle can literally take you anywhere. And so it's kind of this, romantic ideal that they paint through advertising, but then come to find out it is a reality. And so, my wife and I, we were both super into Land Rovers, and, we built this entire trip to Africa around our Land Rover, and, built an entire business in Guatemala around Land Rovers. And that was the thing, is we specialized in getting people to the most remote places in Central America. So it's all 100% vehicle dependent travel. And a Land Rover is kind of the thing to do it in.
So those are vehicles that just keep going. They can get you to places that no other commercial vehicle can get you to.
Right. I mean, we really speed them up, and they just keep going. So, we've done pretty much everything you could imagine in a Land Rover Defender, and they've always got us through. So
yeah, that's and the there's just something about them, because I even spent preparing show notes and stuff for today's show. I was looking around and just scrolling through pictures online, and those are really sexy vehicles. I mean, seriously, some of them, and I tended to, and I don't know if you're the same way, but looking at all the range of different types that are out there, from the newest, highest end, most just blinged out, ridiculous Range Rovers, to the ones that I gravitated towards scrolling through those pictures were the ones that looked like they were beat to hell, because you could tell that there were stories in those vehicles,
and they were used.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's just one thing that I love about them is, obviously people, there's a mass appeal to how they look. Everybody loves the style of a Defender, but when you've been in a Defender and you've used it for what it's intended for, and it's kind of been your go-to, your lifeline, it's definitely a bond that doesn't break easily. So I think I'll definitely always have a Defender in my life, or I hope so.
So, of all the places that you had a chance to travel and explore, in the time that you've been doing it, and obviously you're still going to have a lot more time to travel and explore the world. But to this point, what is the place that really kind of grabbed a hold of you the most? A place that you either it caused you to go back and visit again and again, or a place that you long to go back and visit again?
We based our business in Central America, so obviously we were in the jungles all the time. And as much as I love the jungle, it would definitely be North Africa. So we spent, about 9.5 months traveling completely off the grid in North Africa. And, that was just probably one of the most amazing times of my life, just literally being in the middle of the Sahara, in the middle of nowhere, traveling only by GPS waypoints, and seas of sand dunes. And yeah, I mean, you can't find that in many places on the planet anymore. So that definitely is a place that I would love to go back to and kind of relive that experience.
Wow. Yeah, that's so how many do you recall how many countries in total you've been to?
I really 30.
About
if I had to
30.
guess.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, James, let's shift a little bit into each week we do a smokabulary word. So we talk about a word that's really only related to the cigar industry, or a word that's been sort of repurposed for a different part of the cigar industry. And this week's smokabulary word, and let me pull this up too, because our smokabulary word, as always, is brought to you by, and I cannot find my notes here. There we go. Our smokabulary word is brought to you by, I'm so professional,
AJ
Where's
Fernandez.
my copy? I'm such a professional. Sorry guys, it's with the internet stuff, I've been losing my mind here tonight. This vocabulary word's brought to you by AJ Fernandez, and there we go. Born and raised in Cuba, AJ Fernandez now produces unparalleled premium cigars in Esteli, Nicaragua. The day-to-day operations at Tabacalera AJ Fernandez are managed under the watchful eye of Mr. AJ Fernandez himself. The AJ Fernandez portfolio of premium cigars provides blend, strength, and flavor profiles to match the preferences of any premium cigar consumer. Whether it's New World, Dias de Gloria, San Lotano, Enclave, or Bellas Artes, you are sure to be satisfied with a premium cigar from AJ Fernandez. So this week's smokabulary word is suckers. And suckers, for those of you watching and listening, suckers is referring to tobacco plants. And James, you can probably speak to this a little bit too. They're the little shoots that start to grow, and they start pulling nutrients away from the leaves that you want to keep, that you want to use for those good primings. And so I don't honestly know, James, you can speak to it. I don't know how they do it, but I assume workers in the fields go through and they find those suckers, and do they just pluck them off and chuck them on the ground? How does that work?
Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty much it. So they just pluck them off of there so that they don't pull those nutrients away from the leaves that are eventually going to end up being those good primings that end up in our cigars.
I did not know that.
That's it. Suckers. That is this week's smokabulary word, brought to you by AJ Fernandez. And now it's time for Numero de los Muertos.
And this week's Numero de los Muertos is brought to you by Oveja Negra Brands. They bring you premium smoking experience forged from tobacco, time, and talent. Comprised of Black Label Trading Company, Blackwork Studio, Dissident, and Emilio, Oveja Negra Brands provide smokers uncompromising blends renowned for their flavor and lasting impression. Oveja Negra, where art and tobacco collide. Join the flock. Visit ovejanegracigars.com to learn more.
And James, thank you for being a sponsor of How About That Cigar.
The number this week is 2 million people.
What?
2 million people. Now, I will say, and this is going to be tough to give clues for, but just bear with me a little bit. We will get there. That number comes from a 200-year gap. So I'll get to the time frame as we start guessing and getting down there.
Okay. So this is I think this may be the highest number we've had on this show so far. It is. So so I want to go back here. 2 million a year?
Nope. Total.
Okay. So in as
between a 200-year gap.
When did the 200-year gap start?
Well,
would that give it away?
It could.
So there was a there was a 200-year period.
Actually, no. I'm sorry. There is it's a 300-year gap between 1500 and 1800
when those 2 million deaths occurred.
Correct.
Okay, so that's our time frame between the year 1500 and 1800.
Mm-hmm.
2 million people died from this. I'm at a loss. James, you got anything? I got nothing right now.
Smallpox?
That's a good guess. No, sir.
It's not small. Was it some kind of a disease?
Yes.
Okay, so it was a disease of some kind. Oh. 1500 and 1800. So that was right around the tail end of the 100 Years' War, I think. Pretty sure. Was it the plague?
It is not the plague.
Not the plague. The plague was, I think maybe the plague was earlier than that. I don't know.
Plague was earlier than that. Yep. So the first moniker that this disease had was called Purpura nautica.
Nautica, so something to do with sailing. I'm sailing.
I'm a sailor.
I'm a sailor. I sail. Something. What was?
Scurvy?
Yes.
I was just yes. You beat me to it, James. Good. So between 1500 and 1800.
Yep.
2 million people. 2
million people.
The population of the Earth wasn't even very high back in 1500.
And in researching this is actually a fascinating disease. Do you know there's only 2 mammals in the animal kingdom that don't produce vitamin C naturally? It's humans and guinea pigs. Those were the 2 things that were both susceptible to scurvy. And so for the longest time, they thought the only thing that would cure it, and they didn't know why until 1932, that it was they would eat citrus fruits and put citric acid in things to cure the scurvy. And for those who don't know, scurvy, you get all these bruises all over your body, and then your gums swell and your teeth start to fall out. It was a terrible, terrible disease. And they thought you could only cure it by these by citrus fruits. But then when explorers in the 1800s started going to the different poles, and especially the North Pole where they ran into Inuits, they weren't susceptible to scurvy. And it's because seal meat actually contains a high volume of vitamin C just naturally.
That is crazy. I didn't even realize that there were any meat proteins that contain vitamin C. I honestly had no idea.
I didn't either.
That's crazy.
So little fun facts for you about scurvy.
That's unbelievable. So guys, that was weird, dark, but Very informational.
Well, I wanted to do something, kind of dark related, for Black Label Trading Company. And
and James is like, thanks.
So I was looking at, pirate stuff and all this different stuff, and scurvy came up, and I was like, yeah, I'll do scurvy.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. It ties into the Jolly Roger. So guys, that is this week's Numero de los Muertos. So James, these questions are completely non-cigar related. They're just for fun. If you could choose to hear the thoughts of one living person for 10 minutes, who would it be and why?
Wow, that's a tough one.
We've had a lot of different answers up to this one on the show. Because if you think about it, that's a lot of responsibility. Even just to think about hearing somebody's thoughts for 10 minutes, that's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, maybe my wife.
Brave man.
That's a brave answer. It's a rare answer. I think that might only be the second time.
I think it is.
But yeah, there are times I'm with you. There are times that I want to hear my wife's thoughts, and then there are times that I definitely don't. And usually it's times that I know I've screwed up that I don't want to hear her thoughts. So,
well, and anytime a conversation starts with, "Hey, we really need, we need to get some potatoes," and then a few minutes later we're talking about the neighbor's dog. Like it's like, what just happened?
We were just making a grocery list.
Yeah.
And then we've been on a 20-minute rant about the neighbor's dog.
Yeah.
We've all been there.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So James, if you were about to get into a fight, what soundtrack music would come on?
No, Wu-Tang for sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
I knew that was going to be the answer. I'm so happy you said that. That had to be the answer. That had to be the answer.
Gotta have some Method Man up in here.
Yeah.
Hell yes.
So, James, I don't know if you're a sports fan at all, but if you had to choose one of the following, you could hit a home run as a starting pitcher, you could score a touchdown as a defensive lineman, or you could score a goal in a hockey game as the goalie.
Are any of those actually feasibly possible?
Yes.
They all are.
They're rare.
Okay.
They're all rare.
Let's see. I'll go with the hit a home run.
Awesome.
That's good. That's the most popular answer.
It is.
Because it's just ridiculously rare. Pitchers don't hit.
And then we got to do that. We got to add for our next season, whenever we decide that is, we got to add the net to net.
Yeah, the net to net, the soccer goalie scoring coast to coast, because that's also maybe more rare than any of them.
But it's happened.
But it has happened. So James, if hopefully things level out here in the world and we're able to get back to a normal sort of day-to-day operations, or with everything around the world, if the PCA trade show happens this summer, do you guys think you're going to be there?
Oh yeah, we'll definitely be there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad to hear
For
that.
sure.
Good.
Yeah, we're there every year. It's always a great show for us. So yeah, no reason we would miss it this year if it's going on. So
yeah,
we're looking forward to it, and hopefully, there's no cancellations on that.
Yeah. And you don't have to, divulge anything specific, but do you have any new projects that you're working on that you're hoping to release over the course of the rest of the year?
Oh yeah, definitely. So, what's coming out is going to be Bishop's Blend. That's already stateside, so we're looking out. As soon as things get a little bit more back. Yeah.
Sorry, you broke up a little. Can you go back and just we broke up a little?
Yep. Start that answer over. Yep.
So we got Bishop's Blend coming out. That's going to be our quickest release. That's already stateside, ready to go. So as soon as things calm down a little bit, get back to normal, that's going to be hitting retailers. So we're excited about that. It's our 5th anniversary with that cigar. So we changed it up a little bit, packaging. We're also doing a limited edition Lancero that we've never done before in the Bishop. So we're excited about that. And then we got a new trade show exclusive that's going to be coming out. It's going to be a very, very cool addition to one of our lines. And then we also have a couple of other new projects that'll be launching this summer as well. So lots of cool stuff coming out.
And as far as the size that you guys are now, is that a sweet spot for you? Are you wanting to grow more? Where do you see yourself?
We have a little room to grow. I mean, obviously, a factory like ours is going to be constricted by tobacco,
Right.
and with the tobacco that we use, there's going to be a plateau that we're going to hit. If things keep going as they are for us, which is growing, which is awesome, we'll probably hit that plateau in the next year and a half, and that's a comfortable place for us to be. So,
Awesome.
Nice. So, James, if you could give one piece of advice to a brand new premium cigar consumer, what would it be?
I would just tell people to definitely, look outside the box. Don't go by what other people tell you, and try everything that's out there. Try it once, and I would also say don't ever judge a cigar by your first experience with it. It depends on what you're eating, what you're drinking, where you are, what you're doing. So if you're going to try out a new brand, a new cigar, definitely give it a few cigars worth try and really get into it before you make a judgment call on it. But I would just say try everything, because you'll never know what's going to be your personal likes or dislikes. And, don't go by ratings, don't go by anything else. Just give it a go,
Definitely. Absolutely. So if you could also give one piece of advice to a brick and mortar retailer, what would that be?
I think it's an interesting time for brick and mortar retailers. I would say, just keep doing what you're doing and do it well. I mean, customer service goes a hell of a long way with people.
Yeah.
And, a lot of times, even if people are more geared towards buying online and things like that, create those relationships with people, they're gonna come back to you and buy from you. And, so I think that's kind of key for those guys right now, is to really just, keep fighting the good fight, and, but just make sure you're taking care of your people and taking care of your customers, and, they'll stick with you.
Yeah, definitely. So let's talk about notable smokables this week.
Mm-hmm.
So each week we talk about a couple things we smoked that was interesting, and there's this brand that I've seen for years. Well, I mean, not a long time, maybe 3 years I've seen this brand, and I always shied away from it because it seemed just a little strange to me, but because the cigar has this skinny little band on the cigar, and right above it is a piece of gold leaf that's basically the vegetable gum is used to hold that gold leaf on there.
Yeah.
And it's Cavalier is the brand. And so for the first time ever, I said, what the hell? I'm going to try one. I smoked one. The cigar itself was good. I enjoyed it. I don't see myself going out and, purchasing multiple boxes of the cigar, but it was enjoyable. But I have to say, because I've found out ahead of time before I smoked the cigar that you can smoke it into where that gold leaf is on there, but I do not recommend you do that. Don't do it. It's that once the burn line starts to go into that gold leaf, you will know it. It's like chewing on aluminum foil. It is not pleasant. I don't recommend it. Don't do it. But aside from that, before I got to that, the cigar was.
You're kind of on the fence there with
cigar, yeah. I'm kind of a little dicey on the whole good or bad thing.
Yeah.
But, don't do it. But yeah, it's an enjoyable cigar. But when the burn line gets to the gold, set it down.
Is that an ultra premium? On that?
I don't know. I mean,
Do you remember? Do you know the price point on that?
Oh, it was $14.
Oh, okay.
So for a Toro, so
That's not bad.
it was enjoyable. But yeah, when it gets to the gold, set it down.
And when we were down at Ristafari, I found a 3-pack of these Nestor Mirandas that were the old Nestor Mirandas in the old.
Oh yeah, that cardboard pack.
Yeah,
I saw that.
So I had the Maduro, and it was lights out. It was so good. The cello was nasty, and no, it smoked beautifully. Very rich flavors. Good cigar.
Those are quality blends. And James, again, we talked before we went live, but you pretty much spend your time smoking your own stuff, which is completely understandable. So just I will just going kind of into the Oveja Negra family. Something from maybe whether it was Dissident or Emilio that you fired up in the last couple of days. Give us an idea about something from one of those two families of brands from Oveja Negra that you can tell us a little bit about.
Yeah, so with Emilio, we have the La Musa, which we just relaunched a couple of weeks ago. That's a cigar we're super excited to get out on the market again. So we kind of revamped it, gave it the Oveja treatment, and really interesting cigar, very complex. It's definitely going to be more in that medium wheelhouse. So totally different than Black Label Black Works, which is always fun for us to work on projects like that. But I think it turned out really well. Smoking quite a few of them, so I'm excited to have those out there. Nice. When it comes to Dissident, I mean, I'm a huge, it's kind of funny because I tend to be kind of more bigger, bolder, the better type cigar smoker. But the Dissident Soapbox, I smoke that on a consistent basis, and it's just one of those cigars that is definitely going to be on the lighter spectrum of what we make out of our factory, but just has that complexity that I find myself craving over and over again. So
yeah, absolutely. And my only other notable this week was actually it wasn't from this week, it was from maybe 2 weeks ago before the cigar shops closed, and I bought a couple cigars from the humidor here at Sodi's and sat down. And I think we were watching hockey, and I grabbed one of the classic EP Carrillo, the Dusk with the black and blue band on it with that super dark wrapper on it. And that's a cigar that I fell in love with years ago, and smoked another one a few weeks ago here, and just was kind of reminded. Yeah, I always remembered why I like this cigar. So definitely a good one.
And then for me, and I know I've said it a few times, but I'm going to continue to advocate for the Nugs 100 is a beautiful nightcap cigar. That CBD does come through. It relaxes me, and it does help me to sleep. And it's just a good cigar. So I've been enjoying the hell out of those that we got down at Ristafari. And
yeah, I had and this is just real talk. I had a bad experience, and James already mentioned, you never judge a cigar by just one experience. And I learned my lesson years ago to not do that, because there was a cigar that I hated the first time that I then ended up being one of my favorites. But my one experience with that 100 was not good, just because I got one that was it really had some draw issues, and that it happens. It's a handmade product. I totally get it. I'll totally revisit it and try it again. But that's another one of those examples where if you have a bad experience, just like James said, go back and try that cigar again, because it could be. And plus, we had just come off 6 hours on the road, so that might not have been the best choice for me to smoke right then. But go back and revisit a cigar if you don't have a good experience the first time. So going forward, guys, we may or may not be here at Sodi's. We're going to be here as long as they, the shop is available to us to have, because the shop's not open. We just privately do the podcast in here right now because the shop's not open. But as the weather warms up, we may be back in the studio at my house doing the show. We'll just kind of play it by ear and see how it goes. But we do have some really cool stuff coming up in the coming weeks. Next week on the 31st, we're going to talk to Terrence Riley from Aganorsa Leaf. And then on April 7th, that date is open, but I'm thinking about possibly doing sort of a community herf maybe on the show. We experiment, try that out just for fun. But then a week after that, normally on Tuesday nights, but we're going to shift one day earlier. We're going to go, instead of Tuesday the 14th, we're going to be on Monday the 13th. And we're going to talk to Will Cooper, Cigar Coop himself, on the show. And then on the 21st of April, we're going to talk to Klaus Kellner from Davidoff. Very excited for the coming weeks of the show, and continue to tune in. Sorry, we had some issues with Facebook Live tonight, but YouTube is still solid, and we will make sure to keep, we'll put links from directly to the YouTube video on the Facebook page, so that since the Facebook feed died, people will still be able to watch that. And for the audio podcast, as always, I'll take the audio, convert it, and put it on the audio channel as soon as possible. James, just as a final closer, give people an idea where they can learn more about Black Label Trading Company and all the Oveja Negra family, and where they can get that information.
Yeah, I mean, definitely check out our website, so ovejanegracigars.com. That's going to highlight, all the brands that we have coming out of the factory right now. And then also through social media, we have the Black Label Trading Company page, the Blackwork Studio page, Instagram as well, under Blackwork Studios and Black Label Trading Company. So yeah, go out and give us a follow and check out what we got going on.
Awesome.
We appreciate it, James, and for all you guys who have been, stuck in your houses and stuck in, your garage smoking studio or wherever it is you smoke, we appreciate you continuing to stay active in the cigar culture. Like we said earlier, call your brick and mortar shops and place an order. Do a curbside pickup so we can keep them, healthy and in business. And until we see you guys next time, burn cigars,
not bridges. Thanks, guys.
See ya.